Run It Studios is the home of the Run Radio podcast and runradio.net, a podcast and station about the relentless, resilient, and innovative types, inspiring strides in life, business, and beyond. Welcome back to the Run Radio podcast. I'm Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, we're going to talk about running things, running our lives, running our businesses, running our mindset. I want to welcome my guest, motion and mindset coach, Tonya Peck.
Hello. Happy
Hi.
Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I hope that I'm really interested in talking about this because we sometimes it says right on the front page of your website, unlock your God-given potential with the right support. And that
Right.
is so key, having that right support, because sometimes we doubt ourselves.
Mm.
Sometimes we have these flickers, I can do it. But then if you're not surrounded by the right people sometimes, or you don't have that potential, unlocking that potential in yourself, you can just be detrimental to yourself. So tell me how you got into all of this stuff that can help us.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I have been in healthcare for the last 15 years and loved just helping women. And it was in the area of breast services. So we did screening mammograms, diagnostic procedures, and, unfortunately, diagnoses that, they um, needed to process. And it was just encouraging in a way to be a part of their story in a positive, impactful way. And I just, as I continued to grow personally and in my career and just kind of looking at other opportunities, I thought, what an amazing way to kind of share what I've learned in my past, kind of growing up, and lessons learned as we all just continue to grow and get more experience in life. But to be able to take that outside of the four walls of the healthcare and be able to maximize that opportunity with women on a more individual basis, whether it's something that they do want to have more guidance around their health and wellness, or if it's more of a mental health kind of barrier, like you said, that we can
Hmm.
sometimes get caught in if we aren't around the right people or aren't feeding our minds with the right things, or just physical. Whether sometimes there's people out there that just want to improve their physical health, but maybe again mindset barriers and things that we tell ourselves, or maybe limiting beliefs, and how that continues to sometimes set us back without us even realizing it. So I've just been excited to come alongside really mainly women, but also men, to
Hmm.
just maybe be a independent voice, if you will, that's kind of outside of their life, that
Yeah.
might see something or sense something that, they weren't even aware of. So, and that just opens the doors for, more growth and healing and awareness, which has been great.
So, what are some of the first signs that we might not recognize but should be aware of that, hey, we may need to take this out and seek out some direction?
That's a good question. I would say if you feel like you're continuing to maybe try the same things, or you're trying to reach a goal that just continues to not be met, often we, kind of, they say the definition of insanity, just trying the same thing and expecting different results.
Yes.
And and I personally have probably done that a million times as well. But then you step back and you're like, okay, like something needs to change here. So I would just say if you're, kind of in, whether it be a relationship challenge or a physical health or mental health, where you just feel like you're continuing to try and try and try to kind of move forward in a way that you haven't been successful, then I feel like it might be an opportunity to, reach out to someone else that might have a different perspective, or just be able to, again, come alongside of you. That's not your family, not your friends, not someone that sometimes is you're just comfortable with and you know that they just are going to tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
But to have someone in a loving way, with kind of, at least in my world, with a faith perspective,
Mhm.
with love, to kind of point out maybe some barriers that they keep hitting without even, again, realizing it, that can hopefully benefit them and to help them move forward ultimately.
I know this is such a networking question, but what is your ideal client?
That's a great question. No, that's totally fine. I would say, women. I'm 55, so I really would say any women, because I have an adult daughter that's 30. I have a daughter-in-law, and I feel like as even the younger women are trying to manage relationships, marriage relationships, friendships, motherhood, that sometimes those challenges can show up, sooner than maybe we realize sometimes. So I definitely have been focusing on women that would like to move forward. And, in a faith perspective, ideally. But again, sometimes, they just need that encouragement and a different perspective. So they don't have to have a strong faith, but maybe be open, to that truth, if you will. So, yeah. So I would say maybe I don't know, say middle age. I don't even know what that is anymore as we
I
start to
know, I
live
know,
longer.
I know. I
Anywhere
guess.
from 30s to forever. Cause I
Yeah,
mean, my mom, she definitely, is challenged with the
yeah,
wellness piece. And so I think that we kind of all have our own story and run our own race, if you will. So
mhm,
just reaching out to those people that really want to move forward and have a transformation and grow and be motivated to learn. And I want to say, I don't want to pull people towards their goals, but I want to push them forward if they're
yeah,
excited to do so. So kind of meeting them where they're at.
for sure. What would what actually has surprised you that people seem to be struggling with the most right now?
Mm.
Is there a specific thing?
I would say the more that I've talked to women and they're very to the outside confident, capable, successful, in many areas. Once we really start talking a little more intimately, there's a lot of hidden shame and guilt
Mm,
that seems to come up that surprise me because again from the outside that's not something that I
yeah.
would have suspected that would be something that they're battling with, and that resonates to me because one of the areas that I coach in is the primal question coaching. And that is a concept that I went through the certification with Mike Foster. And it is specifically about as we were children, again, right or wrong, not blaming anyone or anything, just kind of how we in our kid like logic kind of connect the dots,
Mhm.
ultimately create a need, like a dominant need. And we all have, obviously, again, all the needs, but there is one that tends to resonate. And that's the need that we want to get a yes to as we continue to grow into adulthood. So the seven kind of primal needs are: am I safe? Am I secure financially? A little bit more in that world. Am I loved? Am I wanted? Am I successful? Am I good enough? And do I have purpose? So
Mm,
one of those are typically dominant in our lives. And my family life growing up, my mom went through several divorces and marriages. And so I never really had a constant male figure in my life. And so as a result of my experience, my kind of primal question or my primary need that I seek to be getting met is, am I wanted?
mhm.
And so then as I continued to grow up in, elementary school and junior high, I would look for that. Am I wanted? Um, let's see, not confidence, but am I wanted like security and the pursuit of in relationships. So I always had a boyfriend. I didn't not have a boyfriend until I had one in the wings because again, I didn't know how to be alone. That scared me to death. Like in my mind, if I was alone, then that meant I wasn't wanted,
Wow.
even if they were unhealthy relationships. So that is something that as I went into high school and again, became stronger in my faith, but then something set me back and I ended up having an unplanned teen pregnancy. And that, of course, brought a lot of shame and guilt, and it ended in a miscarriage, unfortunately. But maybe that was God's way of protecting me from something else. But I really didn't share that with anyone except for my very close family and friends for at least probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
So just hearing other people's story, knowing that and my story as well, like that was something that I kept under wraps because I felt like if someone didn't really know me
Yeah.
in that way or knew that I had made that mistake, that I wouldn't be wanted, that they wouldn't want me as a friend, they wouldn't want me in their church group or business group. And that's such I think a lie that the enemy then plants in our mind because of course we're thinking if they knew that about me, they wouldn't like me, love me, include me. And so you don't say anything, but then that just kind of breeds even more doubt and lack of confidence, and it just keeps you I would say down, you know? And thankfully, I was in a situation with some close friends, and I felt vulnerable enough to share that with them, and they still loved me and accepted me. And
Good.
that was in my early 30s. So I feel like I was an adult married woman with two kids before I felt like I could share with other people what really was in my heart and for them to truly know who I was and be vulnerable enough to see if they would still accept me. So as the primal question works in, looking back at those experiences, sometimes we see our decision making as wow, like something's broken inside me, or there's, I did something wrong, or there's no way I can recover. And I feel like with a primal question, understanding that I was really seeking for that need of am I wanted, that helped me to understand maybe why I made some of the decisions that I made and why some of the actions happened. And I felt, again, still remorseful about it, but I didn't feel that it was like an inherited bad trait, that I'm a bad person or I really can't make good decisions, or are terrible at relationships or whatever that is. And so I think it's really helped to bring awareness to myself. And then I hope to bring others that, again, if they find themselves in a circle of not being successful in a marriage relationship or in girlfriend relationships, or, again, they're struggling kind of yo-yo back and forth with physical health or mental health challenges that they just can't break free from, depression and anxiety, and feel like they can get over that hump, that sometimes going, not that we want to go backwards, but looking back at our family of origin and how that related to our heart and our mind and the dots that we connected, right or wrong, can help us to kind of understand maybe our present and then be
Mhm.
able to move forward in a healthier, more aware way for our future. So I definitely think that just all of that is really powerful if you're willing to take those opportunities to reflect, because I didn't want
Yeah.
to for a long time. It's easier for me not to think about it because
Yeah.
it's painful.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it too. We have to be willing to have some of those painful moments, or to just be willing to sit in that still quiet, in
Mhm.
a world that tells us we should be going, going, going 50 million,
Yeah.
miles a minute with social. And if you're not on social, you should be on TV. And if you're not on TV, you should be on, talking to your friends and all these things. And so I just think in a world of just really constant kind of chaos in a way, just taking that moment to really be still with yourself and just kind of do a deeper dive can really benefit you just hugely, just life changing.
So to help me with my categories, you have, therapists, counselors, life coaches. You say emotion and mindset. Which how do you explain your who you are and what you do?
Right? I know some days I still feel like, who am I when I want to grow up?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
what do I
yeah.
want to be?
What is
But
it?
I would say about 15 years ago, I started getting into the fitness world, and it was
Mhm.
just to lose weight. And because my husband had a business for self and I and my kids were grown, and I just needed something to do. So, really, that it was a very innocent reason and kind of selfish reason to just be like, all right, I need to, do something for myself.
Uh-huh.
And then that evolved into becoming a spin instructor and a group fitness instructor.
Yes.
So I think in the beginning, and I, who I am, I guess, or the people that might be drawn to me now might be different, in
Yeah.
5 years from now. But so I was really passionate about helping others improving their physical and mental health. Um, in the healthcare practice, we see patients all shapes, sizes, ages, and there was just a lot of ladies that were young that had a really hard time just, you know walking down the hall, sitting up, doing things that are normal life things, and so that kind of hurt my heart. And I just thought, gosh, if maybe they don't have someone in their corner that could encourage them in a way that they could be successful, or maybe they just don't know how. So that was really how I started thinking more about coaching and personal coaching, wellness coaching. And then when this primal question certification became available, and then through starting to coach independently with women, starting to trace back, okay, maybe the reason that they aren't successful in their physical goals is because they aren't feeling worthy,
Yeah.
or they aren't feeling loved or aren't feeling good enough. And those types of things that are just deep rooted that they didn't even realize. And
Mhm.
so kind of addressing those deeper emotions and feelings and just awareness has been able to help them move forward in their physical goals now because they realize the things that they were kind of using as roadblocks without knowing it.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say that's kind of where it evolved into a coach was it was now into motion and mindset because for those of us that are into physical health, even if it started out for weight loss or just to do something with ourselves, the more you do it, the more you it becomes a part of your life.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like again that circle with depression and you need to move, but I know that you don't feel like moving when you're depressed.
Right. Right.
But you have just making those little shifts because then when you start moving, then your mindset starts to improve.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just as I feel like they feed on each other and then just adding another layer with that kind of wholeness life perspective to impact our relationships or work relationships has just been an added bonus.
So in your mind, do you usually think I'm a wellness coach or do you think I'm a mindset coach? Or does it
That's
change for you just depending on kind of your client?
Yes, I think it depends on my client. I think sometimes they come to me for the physical coaching, but then as we dive into, their experiences and what they've tried, what they haven't, how they feel about themselves,
Yeah.
what they feel they're capable of, then it does turn into a little bit more of, I would say, just alongside that focus of mindset and being mindful of what we're telling each other or telling ourselves about our ability to be successful
Yeah.
and to reach the goals that we want to reach.
I feel like, especially several years ago, if someone brought up, you know, life coach.
Mhm.
People kinda, ugh, and
Yep.
and I think it's because no one saw the importance or value of they are separate. They're not claiming they're a counselor, and they're not
Mhm.
claiming they're a doctor or anything else. It's a different line, field, pathway. Not that they can't overlap or refer one another at all,
Absolutely.
but there is something to be said for someone that can help you shift your perspective and mindset maybe all that person needs in that moment. Or with talking through you, you may be like, no, this is outside of my scope.
Mhm.
Here's where, and how do you feel about that as it's kind of become a bigger thing we see out in the world today?
Sure. No, that's a great question. And honestly, like 4 or 5 years ago, when there were some people that were telling me they were doing life coaching, I thought that too. Just like you said, I was just like, okay, well, traditionally
Sure.
there's, psychiatrists and counselors, and you kind of go to maybe more of like a medical route.
Right.
And then as I got into fitness, I saw there were personal trainers. And then, once I got certified, like you said, then there started opening up, I guess, avenues or awareness that oh my gosh there are kind of like all these little subsets depending on what a person's needs because sometimes they don't like in my practice when I meet with someone for 3 months because
Mhm.
I feel like you really aren't able to hang with it long enough to see if there is going to be change or to get over some of those mindset blocks for at least 3 months like people are like let's just have a quick fix. No, we're not going to be doing quick fixes. We want to do something that is going to benefit you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's 3 months. And they're like, you know what? I think I want to, go ahead and implement the things that we've worked on. Let me circle back with you, kind of do a little check in. And other people, once they feel like they're getting that momentum, they want to continue. So I feel like sometimes with counseling or psychiatry, which I have family members that are also a part of both, like they have, a counselor that they meet, medically, or
Mhm.
someone that helps them with prescription management. So those are all great things. But I guess for me, for someone that just is wanting to work in a block of time on a specific need or struggle, then life coaches or can be very valuable
Yeah.
rather than someone that might be invested in the long haul. They feel like they have to go every week or every month for
Yeah.
years and years to actually get somewhere. So this is
Mhm.
something that's maybe a little more specific. So
Mhm.
I feel like is really in tune with the client specifically to meet the needs that they're really focused on, and then taking it that next step if they want. But to your point, like if there's someone that has been struggling with addiction or gosh. There's definitely areas of life that I can't speak to, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't pretend to speak to it. There was a client once that reached out and was interested in the somatic part of health, where the breathing techniques and the mind and just all of that, which I am very much interested in and I know a little, but
Yeah.
I also knew a coach that was what they did, and I felt like I would never want to fill the role of someone that if I feel like, okay, well, I could serve this person, but could I serve them 100%?
Yes.
So then that's when, like I said, I do refer to other people that have a stronger skill set or more experience in that. Cause
Yeah.
the fact that I've kind of been able to work through some of that shame and guilt and overcoming beliefs, that I'm not good enough or that I'm not able to do certain things, then I feel like I'm better suited for people that might be in that similar um interest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What is something before we come to see you, if we're kind of beating ourselves up or we're just having trouble clarifying what may be blocking us from moving forward in our career, our fitness, our overall health, what would you suggest we do to work through that before we come to see you?
Mm, that's a good question. I would say just to be clear on their goal. Like,
Okay.
what do I want? There's a thing that we call in the coaching is a racket. And it's basically something that we kind of use as an excuse because it serves us.
Yeah.
And so some of those things you don't realize that you're, doing until it's pointed out. But I feel like being clear on your goals and what you really want to accomplish, and kind of look back at history. Like, let's say, for example, you are trying to move forward in your career. How long have you been working at that? What things have you tried? Why hasn't it worked? Maybe doing some reflection on that. I feel people that usually are looking for a coach have tried some things on their own and just either haven't been successful or have gotten discouraged or just, are kind of like, all right, I give up. Like, let's just try a new path. So I would just say being, honest with yourself about what you want and what you're willing to put forward. Because it's as much as, I want it for someone,
Yeah.
I can't do it for them.
No, no.
So I think they have to be in the place to be ready to make some changes, to be ready to get a different perspective, and to be ready to move forward. And like we talked about before, it's not easy.
No.
It's easy to just keep doing the same things that we know, whether it gets the results that we want or not. It's safe and it's predictable and all those things. And growth is scary. It takes us outside our comfort zone. We may have to think about emotions or experiences that we would rather not, but hopefully it's all in the hope to not create negative outcomes, but for the hope of rebuilding and clarifying and reframing the things that we want in our lives.
So if we've done that and we still need help clarifying those goals, you've got one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
group workshops, speaking engagements, you've even got a free consultation. Folks
You
can connect with you. Tell us where to find that and anything else we need to know.
Okay, perfect. Yes, my website, a free consultation. So, if to your point, someone that maybe has tried some things, hasn't really thought about coaching before, or just is curious, what would that look like? What types of things, could I be helped with? And it's not a coaching call, but it's just a chance for them to get to know me, for me to know them, to get an idea of what they're looking for, to be able to know if moving forward would be a good fit or if there's someone else that I could refer them to that may be able to help them move forward in the way that they're looking. Um, I'm so excited. In June, actually, as we're speaking, she's finishing up the details, but there is a workshop in June that I'm doing. It's kind of a mid year reset, and it's going to be 4 weeks. We're going to do a Zoom call once a week, but then there'll be things throughout the week to work on around mindset and physical as well, because for a bonus I'm giving some 12 workouts that they can do at home or kind of incorporate into their day if they would like or into their week, but it's really interactive. So and I have Voxer access one-on-one. So the best place to find out about that is if you're listening to this, going to my website, and there's a place that you can sign up for a newsletter. So I do give freebies for to be on the newsletter, but the fastest way to get the most up to date, since literally like it's almost the end of May, if it's something that you're interested in doing, to just get that one-on-one access for 30 days to really talk about mindset and get moving on a consistent basis and have a community of like-minded women. Because I feel like community is so important. And with COVID and just people being able to work more remote and, just going in our garages, shut the garage door, and we stay inside. So I feel like an additional aspect that so many women have been craving in is that community, is that connection, is a friend that they could be honest with and share, their struggles with. So that's an amazing way to do that too. So I would definitely say my newsletter will help to give you all the up-to-date information. I provide a weekly newsletter every week that's around all the things that we've talked about. So it's kind of little mini coaching sessions or things that you can think about as you continue your growth journey.
All right. Thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Absolutely. It was beautiful to meet you, and you have a wonderful day and
Thanks.
happy weekend.
Thanks. You too. Be sure you connect with Tonya Peck, emotionandmindset.com for more. You can watch more of my videos, listen or watch, connect to any platform you prefer from runitstudios.com. We'll see you next time.